When I was 16, a friend and I were driving past the hospital when I realized it was the day my cross-country coach was due to have her baby. My friend and I spontaneously decided to visit. We wanted to go meet the baby. Marvelously, the little one had decided to arrive on her due date. We learned that my coach had checked into the hospital and we were given a room number. We made our way through the maze of corridors and found ourselves in the hallway of the maternity ward, where, lo and behold, my still very pregnant coach was walking herself through an excruciating contraction. Seeing her unexpected visitors, she looked first surprised and then nauseous as she turned to a hallway drinking fountain and threw up. This was not at all what we had expected to see on that joyful day, but alas, her hour had come, and that was when I understood what childbirth was really like. Not quick and humorous like on the TV sitcoms, but a prolonged, intense experience that would test the mettle of the strongest, toughest woman I knew. Years later, when I myself was in labor, I remembered my coach's face, her pain, even her vomiting, and it was almost like having her voice in my head coaching me once again. You can do this, Al. It's a tough course. Just keep on going, pace yourself, and get your breathing under control. I was channeling words I had heard during races, but what gave me the most strength was her example during childbirth. All because I showed up at the hospital that day expecting to see something quite different. In spite of the awkwardness of walking in on such a private and painful moment, I am grateful for the life lesson it taught me. Now, Jesus was for many people the ultimate example of a coach. His teaching and healing had gained him enough notoriety that people sought him out. Even strangers would show up wanting to see him. What did they expect to see? Miracles? Jugs of fabulous wine made from water? Resurrections? What would you expect to see if you could time travel to meet Jesus? Hold on to that thought. Well, we let the Gospel of John carry us back in time to 1st century Jerusalem for the final Passover festival that Jesus would celebrate. From the 12th chapter of John, beginning with verse 20. Now, among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew. Then Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life will lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor." Now my soul is troubled, and what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. The crowd standing there heard it and said it was thunder. Others said an angel has spoken to him. Jesus answered, "This voice has come for your sake, not for mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." He said this to indicate the kind of death he was to die. I am guessing that those Greeks who showed up looking for Jesus were not expecting to hear anything like this. They had come to see the miracle man, the one who could walk on water and raise the dead. Kind of like me showing up at the hospital. I think these guys were expecting the mood to be more celebratory. Where was the water turned to wine? Shouldn't Lazarus be dancing around, thrilled to be resurrected from death? Instead, there was Jesus predicting his own death. This was profoundly disturbing. Jesus had proven himself stronger than death. How could it overcome him? But Jesus' job was not to protect himself from suffering or even death. On the contrary, his job was to reveal to people that even in the midst of suffering and death, God was there. Jesus could be lifted up on a Roman cross, and God would be with him in the agony of it. And God would lift him up a second time as he was resurrected from death, proving the final victory over the most powerful ruler of the world, the Roman emperor. And God would lift Jesus up a third time as he ascended into the heavens, leaving behind a legacy that the world would never forget. His lifting up from the earth, on the cross, from the grave, and to the heavens would draw all people to him, not only his Jewish followers, but even the Gentiles, like those Greeks who have just come looking for him. They may have been looking for a miracle. Maybe they'd even brought, flasks of water, hoping he would send them home with his famous wine. Or perhaps they had lost a friend and hoped that Jesus could bring him back. Jesus was getting pretty famous for his miracles. But ultimately, the legacy he wanted to leave was not just how powerful he was, how gifted and talented. His legacy would be revealed as he was lifted up on the cross, and that legacy would be known to all people, not only the population of his land. And what would people see? They would see that God is present, even in suffering and hardship. Jesus was not forsaken in his time of suffering, and neither are we. No matter what hardship we might experience, God is present with us. Now, that doesn't mean that God will remove the pain. We will feel it, but so will God. And with God's help, we will come out on the other side, transformed, maybe even resurrected. Because that is the nature of God as revealed through Jesus. Jesus, the physical manifestation of God's love, never walked away from those in pain. He got very close to them and offered them the healing gift of presence. He lifted them up from the desperation of their pain and gave them hope. For this, people were drawn to him. Even now, Jesus' life as a healer is as much a part of his legacy as his defiance of death. And we recall his instructions: whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. Following Jesus does not guarantee us protection against the hardships of life, but he shows us the way to get through those hardships. And just as importantly, how to help others get through their own. Jesus modeled for us how to build community, how to ask for what we need, and how to notice what others need. Following Jesus' example means cultivating empathy for people who have been knocked down by life in order that we might do as he did and lift them up. Who needs the gift of presence? Who needs a word of encouragement? Who needs a mentor, a role model, a coach? All of us have something to offer, even if we are not perfect. I told you that the best lesson I got from my coach was when I walked in on her most vulnerable moment, the time when pain was getting the best of her. Sometimes it's our own vulnerability, our ability to admit how much we have had to struggle, that provides the most encouragement to others. We don't need to make life look easier than it is. We do need to show people that it is possible to do hard things. For all the marvelous things Jesus did in his life, his greatest strength was his vulnerability, his willingness to give up everything for love, knowing that he would neither die alone nor in vain. God would be with him even on the cross, and after the resurrection, the world would not be the same. Jesus was like that grain of wheat that falls to the ground and seems to die, only to bring forth a marvelous crop that will feed many. And we are like descendants of that first crop of disciples who continued to plant the seeds of Jesus' teaching so that more communities could thrive as they patterned their lives after his. As it turned out, the world did not need to see Jesus' miracles. They just needed to see him. It's like those Greeks we met at the beginning of our gospel lesson today, the ones who tracked him down saying, "We wish to see Jesus." Friends, the whole world needs to see Jesus as the incarnation of God's unconditional love and compassion. And since Jesus of Nazareth was lifted up way out of sight, it becomes our job to grant the request. Yes, people can see Jesus. They can see Jesus in us in the ways we lift people up in care and concern. This doesn't mean that we will miraculously be given the ability to fix every problem or heal every illness. Following Jesus does not make us superheroes. We will still experience the pain of being human. So will the people we care about. We will hunger, we will thirst, We will hurt, we will grieve, we will die. But we will also have the strength to endure all that comes, just as Jesus did, knowing that we are not alone. We are held in God's love, lifted up by the divine presence that more often than not is embodied by actual flesh and blood people like Jesus of Nazareth and people like you and me. God is with us even now, lifting us up so that we can lift one another up too. May you know these words in your life so that you too can show people Jesus.